All right, we are back. We are back. I don't know if we ran this show last week. I believe we did, but we are here to recap Week 10 of the NFL. We're here to talk Seahawks. We're here to talk the insane parity that's been occurring this year. A few teams lost again. A few teams seem like they're back. I don't know. There's a lot going on. I'm Big Dog at TrostDog on Twitter, at Big Dog underscore Little Dog on Instagram. Follow us. And this is my partner, my brother.
Little Dawg. Follow me on Instagram at Olatrosk. I'm ready to talk about the games. Exciting weekend. Definitely a lot of things to talk about.
Was a somewhat exciting weekend. Let's dive in. I mean, let's just jump to the. We'll go over some of the key games this week. Some key topics, some things we may have learned. I want to start with the Ravens and the Dolphins because that was a big one. I mean, we saw the Ravens, who have looked pretty solid most of the year. They were 6-2 coming into that game. Kind of absolutely fall apart against the Dolphins. I mean, Jacoby Brissett started for half the game. Tua played half the game. There was coverage busts. The Ravens just straight up did not look good. And the Dolphins, who have not looked good this entire year, beat them. Well, what are your thoughts? I mean, in my opinion, let me just say one thing. I always thought the Ravens were overrated. A lot of their wins have been super fluky, super close. Games they probably could have lost where their record looks a lot different. I mean, they're close. I mean, they won them, but it doesn't necessarily reflect that they were beating teams in a good, sustainable way. And I think we saw that, flip over on Thursday.
Yeah, not much to say about this game. I think you're right. I think the Ravens have been getting lucky a lot, and it kind of just didn't fall their way. It was a 3-6 at half. Tua came in the second half. Didn't look great. I mean, his hand was clearly affecting the way he was throwing. But they got the job done, and the Ravens, they're definitely beatable. They're not the team to beat the AFC right now.
No.
It's really – the league is so much parity. Like, it's so close. I think – between the top half and the bottom half, especially you've seen that last 2 weeks, these underdogs coming up. We'll talk about more upsets later, but yeah, I mean, it's not really that shocking, to be honest. There's more shocking games, more shocking upsets. I had Dolphins 9.5, so that's not a good bet.
Yeah, nice. I like the Dolphins actually. It's hard for me to get my bets in on time by Thursday. I do like the Dolphins there though. Their offense still kind of looked pathetic. But the Ravens, I mean, that just goes to show that they still beat them.
I mean, it was a boring game. Robert Hunt's play that didn't count was the story for a whole. You couldn't stop hearing it for the next 2 days. Cool play, though. Cool play.
Yeah. All right. Let's jump to the Sunday slate. The morning there's a few good games or a few good matchups. One of the premier matchups I want to bring up was the Cleveland Browns and the New England Patriots. Now, this game had a ton of playoff leverage. Obviously, both these teams will be fighting for wild card, maybe even division ahead of the division seeding. So everything here matters a lot. And the Patriots absolutely stomped the Browns. I know Baker left the game maybe at halftime or something. I can't remember when he went out, but even prior to that, they were getting stomped. Oh man, what do you think about? I mean, I watched that game and Mac Jones was honestly just dropping dimes. I know he hasn't played this way the whole year. He's played, game managerial the whole year, but against the Browns, he was making some unreal throws. I will say that.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Something to note here is that there's only 5 teams in the NFL with a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense, and you'd be surprised to know that the Patriots are one of those teams. And it's, without a doubt, a testament to Bill Belichick and Mac Jones.
And when you say top defense, offense, is that in yards?
Top 10 offense and defense. Yeah, I believe it's in yards.
Yards? All right.
Either yards or scoring. One of the two. And I got to say that Mac Jones is making himself a case for Rookie of the Year, especially with the way the Bengals have been sliding a little bit. And he's always got the quarterback factor with him. So
absolutely.
And I think maybe we started talking about it. I think it's clear to me that the Patriots are not only playoff contenders, but maybe we start talking about them a little bit more as championship contenders.
Isn't that crazy? Like last year, they weren't very good. I don't think they made the playoffs, did they? Or did they sneak in?
They did not.
They didn't make the playoffs. They had a bunch of old guys on their roster who looked like it was They were kind of coming to the end.
Nobody played because of COVID too. You know, a lot of the Patriots
They
players.
did
were the
lose a
players
lot
that
of
didn't
guys,
play.
but a lot of those guys are still pretty old. And then Mac Jones, he's had some decent games, but he's also looked pretty bad. I know people really haven't watched the Patriots that much. They haven't been in a lot of prime time or good games, good matchups yet. But what a game to show up, right? Like the Browns is probably their best opponent. I mean, you might say the Chargers, but the Chargers just lost again. I mean, are the Chargers even that great? And so out of their wins, this is by far their defining win. And you combine a quarterback like Mac Jones, who's can make the big throw when he needs to, but also is just very steady. His strength is being consistent and not turning over the ball and making the easy pass. With Bill Belichick, who just has the way to shut down offenses when he needs to. It's a good combo for the future, man. I think you're right. I think they may be contenders. I'm still a little iffy because this is probably their best win, and it's the 5-5 Browns. So I do need to see a little more, but they can only play who's on their schedule so far. So
Yeah, they've definitely played competitive against some good teams too, the Bucs and the Cowboys. But two things I want to know about. You know, some pretty boring games, I guess you would say. Colts, Jags, Cowboys, Falcons. I just want to point out just the Cowboys are back on track. Clearly, it was a fluke last week. I wouldn't be too worried about it. And with the Jags and Indianapolis game, I really want to touch on Indianapolis here because they've won they won 4 of their last 5, and that loss being a extremely close loss to Tennessee in overtime. And then if you even want to go dead back further, it's 5 out of their last 7 with another close loss to the Ravens in overtime. So the Colts here are a dangerous team and definitely a playoff contender in the AFC. And they've been kind of underlooked. You know, they haven't been playing very many big teams, like you said. They haven't had those primetime matchups similar to the Colts. And Carson Wentz having a pretty good season, I have to say. Jonathan Taylor is.
all right, let's back off on that. He has not had that great of a season. He started off,
I think, compared to his
slow.
previous seasons.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, the Colts are trending up. I think 3 of their last 4 wins have come against the Texans. Who did they beat? The Jaguars and
the Niners.
And the Jets.
The
Jets. So 4 out of their last 5.
Yeah,
four out of their 5 wins have come, and they've come recently.
Yeah,
but we've
so
seen
the
them
last
against
7
some decent teams. Yeah.
Last 7, the 2 games you missed, the loss to Tennessee, the loss to Baltimore, and then a win against Miami. So yeah, all those teams are not playoff teams this year. But like you said, you can only beat what's on your schedule.
Yeah, they put up some good fights. I know our host Dallin is a big Colts fan.
Yeah.
And he would say, the Colts are on the upward trend. I do like the way their offense is moving right now. Their offensive line is dominating the trenches. It makes it really easy on Carson Wentz to play sound football. When Jonathan Taylor can just rack up 6-7 yard carries, it reduces the sticks. It reduces the need for putting Carson Wentz in bad situations where he has to hold the ball and make big plays. So I do like what they're doing there. Is there another game you want to talk about in the morning slate? There actually is one. I want to talk about I believe this is the morning slate. Did the Buccaneers in Washington, they played in the morning, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I was following along with that game. I had Washington plus 10, and they covered by 20 actually, I guess you could say. So this is the second week in a row that the Buccaneers have lost to a backup level quarterback. So they lost to Trevor Siemian 3 weeks ago now. They had a bye in between. Came back. Tom Brady off a bye is usually pretty good. They lose to Taylor Heineke and the Chase Young-less, Montez Sweat-less football team. And it just looks like I don't know if they're just relaxing or what. Their defense can't get off the field. Their offense is making big mistakes, can't sustain drives. Bruce Arians is being ultra conservative. I'm not sure what's going on really with them, man.
For me, I think it's the story of the offensive line. I mean, looking at the last game against the Saints, and the Saints have always been able to scheme up pressure against the Bucs, and they did it in the first game. They put Brady under pressure. He did not perform. and even this week, you said yourself, even without Chase Young, even without Montez Sweat, Tom Brady under pressure was very bad. I think I don't remember the stats, but it was his worst performance of the year under pressure. I think he had a pick.
He had two
Below
picks.
a 30 QBR, yeah.
I mean, he had one of the picks kind of was tipped. The other pick was a bad pick. Or one of the picks was tipped, but the other pick was a bad pick.
I think it starts with the offensive line, probably scheming better protection for Tom. But you never know because you get AB back, you get Gronk back. Who knows how good this team can be?
Yeah, it makes me wonder how much AB really was big for them. Having that third option. I mean, even Gronk or AB, like Gronk hasn't been there since like week 2. He's been in and out of the lineup, but he's been hurt. Not having that third option is really might be derailing the Buccaneers because Tom does like to go through his reads, go through his progressions, and not being able to trust that third guy is pretty big.
Yeah, I agree. I do want to say a couple things about some other things or about some other early games that we can move on to the later games.
Absolutely.
So Buffalo smashed New York. Nothing much to say there. But New Orleans, Tennessee. I mean, those are two teams with winning records.
I want to quickly talk about Mike White. I saw a quote he had earlier this week. I think he said he should have been the first overall pick. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He did say that, yeah.
And then you know what? After his performance, I was like, "Dang, dude, you could have at least been the second overall pick because that was a very Zach Wilson-esque performance." You know what I mean?
I do. 4 interceptions, I think he threw.
I think that's. I mean, yeah, that's a Zach Wilson-esque performance, and Zach Wilson was the second pick. So absolutely, I think he was right. I don't think Trevor's had a 4-pick game yet, but he's right where he needs to be if he wants to, call himself that kind of player.
All right, going back to what I was saying, Saints Titans. I think while the Colts are on an upward trend, I think the Saints are going to be on a downward trend for the rest of the year. It's going to be difficult for them to make the playoffs, especially with the Panthers going to be revitalized with Cam Newton. I guess we'll talk about that in the afternoon window, but it's going to be tough. The Titans keep winning. Another game, Detroit, Pittsburgh. What an interesting result. The year's first tie. Hopefully the last.
Yeah, that was such a slop fest.
It was disgusting weather, disgusting quarterback play. Literally, I think it's probably the worst of the year. Jared Goff versus Mason Rudolph. Gotta be. Making Big Ben look good.
I think Mason Rudolph, you're a bad quarterback, a bad guy. But I'll give you one out. He didn't know until Saturday that he was starting, so
this is true.
That's a
Especially
little tough.
In that weather.
Yeah, but dude, it was affecting everyone. Like, dude, there were fumbles like every play. It felt like in overtime. Oh my God, slipping. Like no one could block. No one could make a cut. It was crazy.
It was. But not much to say about the game. Not huge playoff implications. It's obviously not great for the Steelers, but the Lions, they're not going to go 0-6, 0-17. They might go 0-16 though.
Mm-hmm.
But moving on. First game of the afternoon window, the Panthers-Cardinals. Cardinals opened up as favorites despite losing Kyler Murray. You saw 2 backup quarterbacks in play. PJ Walker did not play great at all, but Cam Newton made some impact on the goal line. 2 touchdowns on the day. Christian McCaffrey was back and in full force. I mean, if you had him in fantasy this week, he put up 26.1 points in a PPR format with no touchdowns. I mean,
crazy.
Is there anybody else in the entire NFL that can do that? I don't think so. It's just I don't know how much this says about the Panthers, and I don't know how much it says about the Cardinals too. You expected this result last week, not exactly this week.
Well, here's what I'll say. I mean, I think last week, Colt McCoy, Cliff Kingsbury basically dominated the Niners. The Niners just completely didn't show up. I think that win was a little bit more of a fluke or more of like a, some days you just play great, and that was one of those days the Cardinals just played great. But this week, Colt McCoy, I kind of saw it. He was playing against a good defense. Carolina is legitimately a good defense with some good players. And he struggled, and then he got injured, and Chris Trevor was playing, I think, from the second quarter on. And now you're down to your third-string quarterback. I think the rest of the team is like, all right, we need Kyler back. Kyler's our guy. We need Hopkins back. And after that point, it was kind of, they fell down 2 scores in, like, the first 5 minutes, and they kind of just let it slide after that.
And the Panthers clearly were excited about Cam Newton.
Absolutely.
I mean, you saw him leading every huddle almost. I wouldn't be surprised if you see him starting next week.
I think he is starting. He's being. I think Matt Rule said that they're practicing with him as a starter.
All right, that's interesting. I mean, PJ Walker did not play great.
He didn't play terrible. I mean, he didn't play great. He played like a third stringer though.
Yeah, he played like a third string guy, and Cam Newton probably can play like a first string guy. He can also play like a second string guy. We'll see how it is. But the Panthers are surprisingly, considering their quarterbacks this year, Sam Darnold's probably done. I mean, he's just done. He's just not good. What can you say about Sam Darnold? And
he's injured.
Maybe they can compete.
Yeah, I mean, the Panthers are doing what they need to do to stay in the wild card hunt. I believe they're the 7th seed right now. The only thing that worries me is they do have one of the toughest schedules finishing off. With the way the NFC is, though, they might be able to sneak into the playoffs. And I think with where their team has been the last few years, I think that's a big step.
Yeah. I think we should move on.
Absolutely.
Chargers, Vikings. Not much to say here. I think the Vikings have been a good team this entire year. They've played great games all season. And the Chargers just seem to collapse a little bit. I mean, I'm not sure what's going on. Mike Williams has been ineffective. Maybe that's why. A lot of reasons. I'm not sure. Do you want to elaborate? Talk about the Chargers' loss or the Vikings.
Yeah, I think both teams are just inconsistent. They both have really high highs and pretty low lows. Like the Vikings. I mean, let's not forget they lost 2 weeks ago to. What was his name? Come on, Dallas quarterback backup. Cooper Rush. They lost 2 weeks ago to Cooper Rush. So I think they're just both super inconsistent. I'm not liking the coaching that's coming out of the Vikings on week to week. But this week they played really solidly, and I think the Chargers, it starts with Justin Herbert. I think he has not been consistent enough. He's had some great days and also some days where he's missing throws.
Really since that Ravens game, really.
Yeah, I mean they're started out 4-1 and they're 5-4. And it's just their defense is still missing some pieces. Their D-line is not very good. Or their interior D-line is struggling. They can't stop the run. They just need a little bit more time, I think, in this system. Justin Herbert needs a little bit more time. And I think they might need a new offensive coordinator. I don't think their offensive scheme is very good.
Fair enough. Moving on, I think I want to talk about the Seahawks and Green Bay last. Philadelphia, Denver, I don't even want to talk about it at all. If you have any points to make, I think Hurts played pretty well. I think Devonta Smith played well on his birthday. But I think both these teams are pretty, out of the playoff.
I just have no idea what both these teams are. Right, the Broncos blew out the Cowboys last week, and they get absolutely blown out this week.
Yeah.
The Eagles, it's crazy. They've blown out some teams this year. Absolutely blown them out. I mean, like 40-6 twice, and now 30-13. And then in other games they get blown out. So I don't know what to say about both these teams.
The Eagles are 4-6 and well in the playoff hunt. I mean, at this stage in the NFC.
Yeah, they have some major flaws, but like I said, they're in it.
Yeah, I agree. And then going back, so I don't want to talk about the Seahawks game last. I think you're okay with that. Talking about the Seahawks game after the Sunday night game, because I think we'll probably elaborate more, as a Seahawks channel first. So let's talk about the Sunday night game. I think you kind of expected this. It was bound to happen. Patrick Mahomes is going to have a day. Divisional matchup Sunday night, what like prime time, seems like it was just bound to happen. Daryl Williams played great. Tyreek Hill played great. Travis Kelce was open a couple times.
Yeah, it was kind of a bounce back. I think the Raiders have been sliding ever since all the things have been coming out. Derek Carr has not played well, and Patrick Mahomes. He has a crazy stats: 400 yards, 5 touchdowns. He made some pretty good throws, but I will say he also. It was reminiscent of last year where he was making, like, the Raiders dropped some balls, man. They could have had a few more picks, and I think the Raiders just, if Carr played a little better, if they had a little more, gel on offense right now, this game could have been a lot closer, but it wasn't.
Yeah, and he threw some balls up. I mean, the Daryl Williams touchdown was definitely not
Yeah, I thought that was gonna be picked, and then Daryl
That's a
Williams
turnover
like
worthy play if I've ever seen one. To
that
be
was
honest.
unreal by Daryl Williams. Who's launching that to their running back? I don't even know, dude. That was a sick catch. I'll give it to him, but that was a questionable decision.
All right, I'm moving on. To the Niners Rams game. I'm gonna give a shout out to one of the best bettors, one of the best hosts on this Big Dog Little Dog. That's myself. Slammed the Niners money line this week. Slammed it hard.
I took the Rams.
You fool.
But I also took Carolina money line, Eagles money line, and Washington +10. So
yeah, that's pretty good bets too. Definitely. A lot of my parlays lost because I did have Seahawks money line on a lot of them.
me too.
We'll talk about it.
I had a parlay. Yeah, I lost. $250 basically. I lost.
But the Niners are now, I think, 5-1 under the Shanahan McVay matchup. Even in losing seasons, they've just had their number, I guess.
Absolutely.
Matthew Stafford with some questionable throws, back-to-back games. The OBJ debut, the Von Miller debut, I mean, were not amazing. OBJ, I think he messed up a couple times. I think one of the picks you could argue was his fault.
I thought the first pick was a miscommunication, and the second pick was fluky. Like, it hit the guy on a screen. He dropped a screen.
Screenplay. Tyler Higbee dropped it, and then Jimmy Warren just took it all the way.
He had some other bad throws, but, like, those two, I mean, I don't know about the first one. It's hard to tell whose fault that is, but second one, that just
For me,
happens.
I've never thought Stafford was that great this season. I thought that people just wanted his MVP for the narrative, and I don't think he's going to get it. It's just hard. I think Odell will probably have more success in the future. I think this is probably a fluky game for the Rams. It just always seems to happen against the Niners. Nick Bosa played well.
Yeah, I thought their O-line, the Rams O-line, actually had a bad game.
Yeah,
and it feels like that's what the Rams really depend on right now. Is if their O-line struggles, Matt Stafford struggles, their offense seems to struggle. This is like something that happened with Goff too. I know Goff is terrible under pressure and just a bad quarterback, but
Todd Gurley era is where they were successful, and that's because they had one of the best O-lines in the league.
And their O-line has been good early on, and the last 2 weeks against the Titans, they struggled big time, and we saw that went. Mm-hmm. The Niners, man, I don't know what to think about them either. Like, last week, they were so bad. They had probably one of the worst showings of any team this year. And then this week, they blew
George Kittle
the
definitely
Rams.
made a difference. I thought he was pretty good.
He played last week, though. He played last week.
Yeah, he did. He did play last week. I think he had a fumble last week.
So I don't know if for this game, I don't know if it's just Niners, if it's just Shanny takes down McVay every time, and that's the biggest takeaway. Because, like, are the Niners legit now? I'm not sure about that.
I don't think so.
Are the Rams? I mean, the Rams definitely are flawed. I mean, they're not as good as we thought. But are the Rams, like, in the dumpster now? No, I don't think so.
Yeah. I think it is. One thing I do have to say is I think Deebo Samuel's got to be a Pro Bowl receiver this year. I think he's played great the whole season. He has had a couple fumbles, but I mean, he might be the best guy run after catch, especially the way AJ Brown played. This has been in and out of the lineup this year. I think Deebo Samuel's got to be the best guy after the catch. Had a rushing TD too. Yeah, I just think he's just a monster.
I agree. I hate to laud any Niners players. I absolutely hate the Niners. It's a good thing they've been bad, but Deebo Samuel it's undeniable how good he is with the ball in his hands. And honestly, I don't. It seems hard. I want to say, like, hey, why don't you guys just, like, take him away? But I mean, he's getting the ball in so many different ways that
slants.
It's hard.
Sweeps. The screens.
I will say the screens, though, they always seem to be, like, wide open for him. It's like, I mean, come on.
We'll talk about screens. Terrible screen defense in the next game. I'm sure we will. You want to get started on that already? Might as well. I think we've said enough. What a week could have been for the Seahawks if they won here. They could have made some huge traction in the division with the Cardinals and Rams going down. But let's move on. So the Seahawks, Russell Wilson returns this week in Lambeau. Cold, very cold. Didn't really snow that much. We expected some snow. It didn't snow.
No, it didn't snow. It did snow. It seemed like a decent amount at the end, though.
Maybe, yeah.
But you're right. It wasn't. There was no
First,
snow on the field at the start. There was no
the first
snow.
shutout in Russell Wilson's career. 20 for 40, 161 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. 2 pretty bad interceptions, I have to say.
So let's just start from the beginning, though. Like,
okay, we can start from the beginning.
it's this game. It was 0-3. It was 0-0 for a bit. 0-3 for 3 quarters and 5 minutes into the game, maybe. Then it was 0-10. Basically, a very defensive game. The Seahawks were struggling to move the ball. The Packers were moving the ball fairly well, but they would always, make a big mistake somewhere down the road. I know they missed one field goal. They had a turnover in the red zone. It was just a very defensive game. The score looks worse than it may be because by the time the Packers scored again, the Seahawks defense had been on the field for 40 minutes already. Yeah, but let's talk Russ, dude. Let's talk Russ. I think this game is solely lost by Russ.
I mean, definitely can be argued. It definitely can be argued.
The O-line didn't play great, but he made them look worse than they were.
I agree.
Some of the play calling, we could have ran the ball more. I think we definitely could have ran the ball more, but that doesn't say like there wasn't opportunities on the plays we passed, because there was. And I will say, you know how you mentioned his stat line, that's probably one of his worst stat lines. Well, PFF, I don't know how much stock you put into them, but this was Russell Wilson's lowest graded game of his career ever, 33.9. So not just like bad, but like awful, like by far the worst. Actually, I don't know what Jared Goff got this week, but probably by far the worst. I can't imagine a much worse grade than that. And it wasn't just like the picks. Even one of the picks seems kind of defensible.
The second one?
No, I'd say the first one.
Okay.
But I'll explain my reasoning. But dude, it was the opportunities he missed, dude. He was so skittish. Like there was quick passes to be had. He wouldn't take them on so many times to get better field position to convert a third down. He would just see the pressure and run away, or he would like doubt himself. He wouldn't throw the ball when he needed to throw the ball. And I don't know whether that's a finger. My theory coming into the game was he was going to be rusty, but I didn't think it would be this bad. But it was definitely. I mean, he's never missed a game in his career, so to miss 3 games, 4 weeks, like that must throw him off. That must throw him off, and I felt like he wasn't confident in his ability to read the play, and I think he felt kind of the pressure that, hey, look, we're 3-6. You got to be perfect. We got to win. And he felt that pressure.
Yeah. It sucks. I do look at some officiating question marks. The holding call has got to be one of the worst I've ever seen. I don't know. He's falling backwards. His hands were on the ground. I don't know how you call a holding on him. We take a field goal there. Who knows how the game changes? The game script could totally differ.
I don't disagree. Here's what I'll say. The refs, it felt like every 50-50 call just didn't go our way. I mean, You could say, like, even the fumble recovery, I think, it was a close call, but it definitely could have went our way, and I don't think people would have complained that much, right? It's like one of those, like, it goes the Seahawks' way. Packers fans might be a little upset, but they know, Daryl Taylor has it. And it just felt like all the close calls did not go our way.
Yeah, I think our defense played pretty well. I think this is probably Jamal Adams' best game of the season. He seemed to show up in coverage, and he obviously had that pick, but I think other than that, he still played great.
I mean, those pass rushes too. He
was getting pressure for sure.
Immediate pressure.
I thought Trey Brown played great. I think our cornerbacks, we hit them well, and they played pretty good. There was one play early where we put DJ Reed in man coverage against Devontae Adams.
I think he just slipped, to be honest.
He did slip, but I don't think he was getting there anyways.
Maybe. It's hard to say.
Yeah, it was a third down. It is hard to say. We had them well. I think Trey Brown is pretty athletic. I think he's clearly the number 2 guy behind DJ Reed. I think you probably agree with that. But I do think it was a pretty positive game for the defense. I think we have one thing we can do. When we have Brian Monet out, when we have Al Woods out, putting forward out consistently, they're going to continue to run screens on us. One thing KJ Wright was great at was recognizing those screens, something that Jordan Brooks hasn't been able to do.
Yeah, and it partially feels schemed too, because when we're dropping the guys in zone, like, if the defensive line doesn't react, you see these guys retreating to their zones, sometimes backs turned off the snap. I mean, if the linemen are there, it's 3 or 2 linemen versus a backer and a safety. It's just impossible because you have the running back who gets to choose where he gets to go. For me, the screens are mostly on the D line. Obviously not every time, but you got to be able to recognize that some of the time and take those away. But overall, since we brought up the defense, this is a very encouraging game. Even though the Seahawks lost, I was very encouraged because, if you were ever to describe a Seahawks game, like, the least concerning loss in a Seahawks game would be one, maybe like a terrible call. Okay, we lost on a terrible call. Everyone knows it's a bad call. It didn't happen. 2, everyone played good except Russell Wilson. And the reason that's the most encouraging is because he's the longest track record of being the best player, right? And I think that's what it was. I mean, not the rest of the offense had some questionable moments for sure, but if Russell plays an average game, at least average production-wise, this game is either a victory or very close. So I was very encouraged with the defense. They've been dominant. Maybe not dominant, but they've been great for the past 5 weeks. Their points per game or their stats have been awesome. I think they're probably like top 5. They're 4th in points per game the last 4 or 5 weeks. They're probably still top 5. Yeah, third down percentage, red zone percentage, they're elite. Just a lot of good play, a lot of good coaching by Ken Norton Jr. Not much else to say about it.
Yeah, I agree. The majority of their yards were off screens, but I think we played pretty well otherwise.
Oh, yeah.
I look forward to next week. Kyler's probably going to come back. It's a divisional game. Hopefully he can bounce back. I think Russ will feel more comfortable at home, hopefully. I will be in attendance.
As will I hope.
As will you.
Tickets are still being scoured, I'll say.
But I think there's a good chance I'll be in attendance. I will be. Hopefully, I won't be sick as I was last time with the Saints game. I'm ready. I want to bounce back week. I still think, luckily,
you got to start pounding that vitamin C right now.
You're right. You're actually absolutely correct.
Yeah. Anyway, I let's go back. I want to talk about the defense real quick. I feel like there's a lot of doom and gloom around Seattle right now. Around Seahawks news, everyone's saying, obviously there's doom and gloom. We're 3-6. We're the 14th out of the 16th seed in the NFC. But I want to highlight some of the young talent we have on that defense. Like, everyone's saying we're getting old. Our roster's not that talented, and I'm like, dude, there's some serious talent. I mean, we're not the best in the league by any means, but it's not like the Jaguars or some other rosters out there where it's just like no one. I mean, all right, I want to go through it. Jordan Brooks, first round pick last year, we didn't talk about him. He had a great game. He had a few stops in the backfield, great coverage. He's had 2 back-to-back really good games. He could be a stalwart of our defense in the middle for years. Then we got the corners. DJ Reed looks like a great corner, great young corner. I think he's only like 4 years in the league. We need to re-sign him, I think. I don't know what he's going to get, but I'd be willing to pay him somewhere in the $8 to $9 million range. He's young. He's a good corner. They're hard to find. Trey Brown, rookie. I mean, he looks pretty good, man. If not, like,
he's exciting.
He's not elite, or he doesn't seem elite yet. I don't know how much we're like hiding him, how much we're helping him out. But he's making plays, and recognizing, like, on that 3rd down or that 4th down where he cracked on Lazard. He was breaking before Aaron even threw the ball. that's just like something you don't teach. And that's something that you don't expect out of a rookie in his like 4th game. So to have that and then be able to still have so much to build on, that's great. And then we go to DJ Reed, Trey Brown, and even, I hate to say it, Jamal Adams, man. He's young, dude. He's in his 5th year. People are like, I know the contract, I know the cost. Well, too bad we're stuck with him. He's in his 5th year. He's a good player. Like he may not be the elite player he was with the Jets, but he's a really solid player. So you look at those guys. You get Quandre Diggs. He's only 28. He's going to be a free agent. If we bring him back, the secondary is in pretty good shape, and we have Jordan Brooks there. I also want to talk about Daryl Taylor. There's some good young talent on this team.
Alton Robinson,
even though I think he's like
a definite stud.
Rasheem
Green had a sack.
They're drafted last year. They're so young. Rasheem Green, I think, he has one more year maybe. There's a lot of youth, and then we have guys like Poona Ford, who's has another year. He's young. Monet, a couple years out. The really only guys who are old and are gonna leave probably, or we can't really depend on for years to come. Bobby Wagner. Hate to say it, he's still playing great, but he's old. His cliff is going to come. And Al Woods, who's been a great player for us. But, I mean, we find those rotational interior guys.
Dunlap, too, is another guy they'll probably be leaving.
Dunlap,
I think he's already out of the rotation mostly, though.
No, I think he's playing a lot. But, I mean, so we get another edge. We get another edge to replace Dunlap. Obviously, there's places to improve, but it's not the barren roster that people are saying. There's a bunch of young guys making plays.
To talk about Bobby for a second here, it's his 10th straight season with 100 tackles. He's got 101 on the season. He's 2nd in the league behind the Raiders dude. I forget his name. But, I mean, I'm expecting Bobby Wagner to be all-pro this year, no matter how bad our season ends. Probably a Pro Bowler guaranteed. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I mean, yeah, he's what, 32 now? I mean,
No, I mean, I'd bring him back until we completely see
he's done.
Actually, I mean, no, I might take that. I take that back. Actually, if you can get a pick for him, let's say we sign him on a 1-year deal. I don't know. Like, honestly, with the way his contract is, he's going to be a free agent after next year, right?
Yeah.
Or after this year.
No, I think after next year.
He's got 1 more year?
Yeah. I can look that up.
I don't hate moving on just because I think when his cliff hits, it's going to hit hard. But, yeah, I think he's got another year. And, yeah, to me it feels like the biggest hole is going to be that Carlos Dunlap, depending on if we want to keep him around or not. Just getting, that really, dominant edge rusher, which is hard to find, but I think just getting one guy right there, and this defense is looking real young, real solid.
Yeah, so he's a contract to the team until the end of next year, where he becomes an unrestricted free agent. $20 million cap hit though.
Next year,
see if
yeah. There's gonna be some finagling around that, I'm sure. Either a void extension. Depends on how this year goes. I wouldn't be surprised if they traded him, but only if it's a really good deal. I would hate it, but I wouldn't be surprised, and I honestly don't think it's bad for the future. I hate to say it just because the wheels are going to fall off. I mean, it's going to happen. Or he's just going to retire. I don't know how long he wants to play.
One thing we didn't talk about is Pete Carroll. He might be on the hot seat, I think, honestly.
Well, let's talk about the Russ, Pete, John trio. I mean, coming into this year, we obviously knew they were going to try to run it back. Things have not gone as planned. Obviously, Russ's injuries, can directly attribute to maybe 4 of those losses. I'm including this one, but who knows? Who knows what would have happened? Yeah, what happens if they don't make the playoffs this year? What's your prediction on those 3 guys? Who stays? Who leaves? What happens? What do you want to see? How about this? What do you want to see? What do you think is actually going to happen?
I want to see a coaching change more than anything else. I do think John has had a lot of issues with,
first round picks.
First round picks mainly. But I think he's been pretty good in UDFA, probably the best in the league since he's been in it. He's been pretty good on the market, getting good, reasonable guys. I don't think he's been terrible in free agency. And I think trade-wise, he's pulled off some good trades. I think Quandary Diggs, you look at it, that's got to be a win. Carl's done that. Even if he's been pretty rocky this season, I think you can look at it last year and say it was a good trade. Jamal Adams, I think there's still time to tell on Jamal Adams. But he has hit on some picks, though. I think Daryl Taylor is probably going to be a hit in his career.
Yeah, there was a dry spell.
Is a hit.
But the people are saying like we draft bad. The last 3 years have been pretty good. I just tell people to go look at them.
And DK Metcalf, obviously. It's hard to argue he's going to draft a Pro Bowl receiver who's going to be probably a multi-time Pro Bowler, potentially Hall of Famer. It's hard to say that he's been that bad in these recent seasons. I don't know.
So going back to the question, what's your?
So I think we got to stick it out with Russ. I think Russ is the main guy in the trio that we want to hold on to. I think the quarterback's just the most important position on the field, on and off the field, most important position in the organization. And I want to see Pete out, but I want to see John probably stick around. Although I think Pete and John's relationship is one thing that really sets us apart from a lot of teams. Coaching the GM, I know they're great buddies. I know they have been doing it together for a long time, but I probably think I want to see Pete out. What I think will happen is the Seahawks will not make any moves in the staff, and I don't think Russ is the kind of guy that will force himself out this year at least. So I don't think you'll see any change if the Seahawks season goes away. Although I still do believe in our season as a whole.
So you think if the Seahawks don't make the playoffs, no change, and if they do, obviously no change?
Yes.
Wow, all right. I do think that the most likely scenario is they all stay. That's the most likely scenario. But I think if they don't make the playoffs, I think you're going to see some pressure from the fans and the people to, mutually part ways with Pete. And I think in that scenario, what happens is Pete retires. Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna happen, but I think I think after them all staying, the most likely scenario is Pete retires. I'm a fan of John still. I think drafting is too variable. Like you can look through all the numbers. It's just almost luck. Like it depends on who you hit on, but over a long period of time, you're not going to see someone so much better than others at drafting. And I don't think after these past couple of years, I think it's going to come back to the average for the years prior. So I like John. I like Russ. I think no matter what happens, I think we need. Well, actually, I don't know, dude. Russ has been questionable the last year, but I think we need Russ. Russ is primary. Thinking about dating from this half of the year and the second half of last year, he's not played well. He's had some good games, but the amount of bad games has been higher.
I can rock with it, but
I'm not saying to bail on him. I'm just saying he hasn't inspired 100% confidence recently. But okay. I'm still team keep Russ. But yeah, I'm with you though. The most likely scenarios are all back. I think if things really fall off, if we go 6-11, which feels unlikely, but it could happen honestly. If we go 6-11, I could see Russ trying to force himself out.
I just don't see that happening. Especially if he's one of the reasons why we're not
see that. Yeah, that's the thing that I think people are missing too. Because everyone's saying Russ is going to want out. Well, what happens when Russ legit just plays bad? He's missing throws, throwing picks. How much can you really blame on Pete? Yeah. Pete's all about not throwing picks and not being smart. And if he's playing, we're only gonna do that bad if Russ plays bad.
That's what I think too. Because I think our defense
is good enough at this point.
The corner.
It's more than good enough at this point to win.
Yeah, I think we win that game with a normal Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
And it is tough. And I think, what's funny about this whole situation is external factor.
Shout out USC. Head coaching job is open. You know, Pete does.
I just don't think. I think Pete's
I mean,
done,
it's
dude.
extremely unlikely, but I mean, how interesting would that be?
I mean, he's 70.
He's expressed interest in USC throughout his career, though, in Seattle.
I know. I just don't think like the odds of him wanting to start new with a new team. It's just he's just too old. I think he sticks around here or he's gonna retire. I
He's
mean,
old, man.
dude. I mean, even if he does go to a team, a college team, think about it. His first class is gonna be the following year. There's his first recruiting class, so he's gonna be dealing with a bunch of kids who aren't his team, and you can't do that much with freshmen. It takes like at least 2 or 3 years to build a team. So I don't know if he's going to stick around for that for any college team.
It is his program, though. He did build it.
Yeah, but they're not. They don't have the talent right now. I mean, he could probably bring it in, but like I said, it's not. It doesn't work instantly like that.
I'm pretty good on talking about the Seahawks, though.
Well, let's briefly talk about, what they need to do to make the playoffs. What we think will happen.
Yeah, I think they need to win games.
Dude, they need to win games. They need to win games, but so what do you think? You think 9 wins sneaks in at this point?
No, I think
it might. It might, but I don't know.
It's with the Panthers, how the Panthers are playing right now. I think the Saints probably will get 9 wins, even with their how terrible they are, and I think the Vikings will probably get 9 wins too. And I just don't see us sneaking in above that. I think we need.
Well, the thing is, two of those teams are getting in. Not like. Okay, you mentioned 3 teams. Two out of those 3 teams can get in. Not just one of them, right? So we don't need to beat out. We only need to beat out 2 of them. We don't need to beat out all 3.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. We still would have to beat out the Niners, though. We still would have to beat out the Eagles. I'm just thinking of teams that are ahead of us right now.
So you're saying 10 wins, we're in. 9 wins, we're out.
I think 10 wins, we're maybe in. And I think 9 wins, we're out.
Oh, I think 10 wins got to be in, dude. Like, you think the Saints, Vikings, and Panthers get 10 wins? There's no way. I don't even know if it's possible. No, it's probably possible, but
I don't know.
I don't have that much faith in Cam.
I wouldn't even be thinking about 10 wins right now. To be honest with you.
Yeah, so we'd have to go 7-1. I mean, our toughest games are the Cardinals twice and the Rams, so we need to go 2-1 in those.
That's true. I mean, you never know about Niners games, but
no,
you do have the Bears, Lions, Texans football team. You expect those to all be wins, even with the way we're playing right now. We're going to be favored in all those games.
Absolutely.
No matter unless we're coming into those games 3-10 and we're already out of playoff contention, I imagine us going to be favorites in all those games. And
so let's say we win those. We only need to go 2-1 between the Cardinals and the Rams. Doable. Not easy, but doable.
Niners on Sunday night is never a guarantee, too.
I'm not saying guarantee, but I just feel like we've dominated the Niners.
Yeah, I don't know.
We'll see. We'll see where we're at. That's what is that? 3 weeks away.
Yeah, that is 3 weeks away.
If we can pull off a nice win against the Cardinals, they could be without Kyler, and that I don't care who we beat. A win is a confidence booster right now. It'll bring up morale 200%.
Definitely.
And then the Washington, we beat them, then we could be rolling to the Niners. All right, so let's just say right now 10 wins, we got to get it.
Yeah, I agree. I guess it's possible looking at the schedule.
It's possible. I mean, we need to almost sweep the table to make it. So there's really no other option.
Yeah, I understand the logic there, for sure.
All right, let's jump to the power rankings then.
Yeah,
crazy.
I think it is crazy because we both had the same power rankings last week, not same order, but same teams for the first time this year. 3 of those 5 teams lost. When are you going to see that at top 5 of the power rankings? That's just how crazy this year's been.
Absolutely.
And even candidates like the Ravens lost, and they're outside, definitely on the outside of the top 5, probably in the top 10. So it's going to be an interesting week. Would you like to start or me?
Yeah, dude, I'll start this time. I do want to get into some discussions here, but let me start at number 5. I am going to slide the Bills back in there. I thought Josh Allen had a great bounce back game. I know it was against the Jets, but when Josh Allen plays well, this team plays a lot better. So if he can play well, I mean, they're a threat with as good of a defense as they've had. We're going to go number 5, Bills. Then we're going to go number 4. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. I do want to give them a pass because they're again without their quarterback, but it was just kind of a bad loss. Overall this year, they haven't looked super dominant. I had them as my number 1 team last week. We're sliding them back down to 4 just because I think a few other teams impressed. So I'm going to slide them back down to 4. Number 3, we're going to go Dallas. So this is their first showing on the top 5 for me. I've disrespected them a lot, and then they went and lost to the Broncos. So I was like, all right, maybe I was valid. But they come around again and dominate the Falcons 43-3. When they're clicking, they're a scary team. I don't think their defense is that great. I don't think they've played anyone that great. But it's just the way it is with like you said, 3 of the teams losing. We got to drop some teams off.
Cowboys are interesting.
Cowboys have earned their spot in this top 5. I think they're scary.
Trayvon Diggs got another pick this weekend. I was screaming at TV, frustrated me.
Oh, it's easy when you get to jump every pass because your offense scored 30 points, 40 points. Yeah,
and also Matt Ryan with the worst throw of all time. Like, what? Who was he throwing to? I don't understand. But continue.
Yeah, no, Dallas. The thing about Dallas is they have an easy schedule, so that first seed very much in play, and that's such a huge advantage. Then I got to go with the Packers. So I had the Packers at the number 4 team last week. This week I'm putting it at number 2. It's their defense, man. I know Russell Wilson was Rusty Wilson. He played bad. There's probably opportunities for the Seahawks to score more, but even then, I mean, they're not scoring 30 plus with the way they were playing. The Packers had a solid game. I know they just went through a bunch of injuries, but they have pass rush, sound secondary play, and Devondre Campbell's one of the better linebackers this year. Then you have the offense, who is still has room to get healthy, and obviously with Aaron Rodgers are going to be good. Number 2, then number 1 team, the team that has earned this spot more than any other team in the league, the Tennessee Titans. They've rattled off, I believe it is 6 wins against quite the gauntlet. We have the Saints, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Rams, just a bunch of solid, the Colts, a bunch of solid teams. They should be nothing other than 1. They have the best resume by far in the NFL. Best resume by far, undebatably. I think their only loss is to the Cardinals, and all their wins have come against, even their wins against losing record, it was against the healthy.
They also lost to the Jets.
It was against the healthy Seahawks, and that was like their one loss against a losing record team, or one win against a losing record team, and they lost to the Jets. Dude, the Jets, I mean, let's think about it. The Titans were down like 3 receivers. They had no one. And a few O-linemen. It happens. Since then, they've beat a ton of teams, man. So they're my number 1. What do you got?
I respect that. So for me, at number 5, I mentioned earlier, one of the 5 teams with the top 10 offense, the top 10 defense. I think they're winning their division. I got the New England Patriots.
Wow.
Right now. I got them in at number 5. I told you guys last week Seahawks won. They'd be number 5. They didn't win.
Beating the Jets and Dolphins 3 times. Yeah, that'll do you good.
Hey. I believe in the Patriots. I believe in Bill Belichick. I'm done doubting. Mac Jones has played well. Shout out Jacoby Myers. What was it, like 1,600 yards, 140 catches, no touchdown?
That was a great moment. I'll say that.
It was. And at number 4, I'm gonna be similar to you here. I'm gonna go for the Dallas Cowboys. I think they're 7-2. They're definitely competing for the NFC. I thought the Broncos game was a fluke. They came out and they showed it up against a hot Falcons team. They just murdered them, defensively, offensively. Micah Parsons is the clear D-Roy. I think Dak Prescott's the clear comeback player of the year. I don't think they're even like the odds on those awards got to be pretty bad right now for those 2 players, or pretty high, I guess you could say. I don't know. They've got still one of the best receiving cores in football. I'm ready to say CD is better than Amari, and that's no knock on Amari. I just think CD is extremely talented.
He
Watching
is.
that man run routes is like watching figure skating in the Olympics, man. It's beautiful. At number 3, I got the Arizona Cardinals. Similar to you, I don't want to punish them too hard. They actually have risen on the power rankings from their loss.
Wow, yeah, they
lost
rose. They rose
the,
for you.
but it's they're all their best players are out. I mean,
Well, to be honest, you haven't respected them all year, so I'm surprised you are now. But
yeah, I mean it's hard because a lot of teams that I have respected all the year, the Rams, the Bucks. I mean, there's 2 back-to-back losses. I can't have them on my
it's
list.
true. They're both off.
And the Cardinals have just stuck around, I guess. They're not a confident 3. Don't get me wrong here. They're not a confident 3, but I think with Kyler coming back next week,
Maybe he might not.
it's true he might not. But we hope he doesn't actually.
We hope he
But I
does
think
not, because I'll
when he
take
does-
anything I can get.
When he does, it's hard to argue that the Cardinals are gonna compete against any team in the league. So and with DeAndre back too, if he comes back, it's definitely a danger. And at number 2. I've got the supposed clear number 1 team, the Tennessee Titans. I think they played close games against the Colts.
Disrespected, man.
They played way too close of a game against the Trevor Siemian-led Saints. I look at the Rams game. I look at some fluky plays from Stafford. I don't know. You got to take these games individually with context. I think the Titans definitely deserve credit for the gauntlet they've run. But they're just number 2. And I think there's a clear number 1 in football right
We
now.
could
I don't
say
know how to
it-
argue.
We can say the exact same thing about your dang number 1 team. They scraped by the Bengals. Bengals missed a few kicks. They absolutely scraped by the.
Should have won that game.
Oh, what was the game they should have? Come on.
They destroyed the Bears.
The Bears are trash. They beat them by 10.
They statement win against the Seahawks. To be honest,
Even the football team could have won that game against them. They just had fumbles on the goal line, literally on the goal line. No, there's one game I'm thinking about that another game they should have lost, or it was really close.
San Francisco
Cardinals. They literally
the
Cardinals
game.
blew that game. Rondell Mill
AJ Green
fumbled.
played.
AJ Green didn't turn around. Muffed punt. Like, that doesn't happen every game. That was a fluke. I know they're missing receivers, but that was a fluke. Chiefs game. I mean, I don't know. That doesn't count. Packers Bengals game.
Shouldn't be number 1.
I mean, I'm just saying
about-
you gotta assign. You're saying we need to assign context to each game. Well, I can assign context to each Packers game where they multiple games they barely won, and the teams they beat are much worse.
The Cardinals, the Bengals.
Bengals, yes, the Bengals are worse. The Bengals are worse. The football team, like I said, that game was closer than it looked, much closer than it looked. The Bears game, you said they dominated. The Bears game was pretty close for like 3 quarters, and they beat them by 10. Like, their most impressive win might have been against the Seahawks and Rusty Wilson. That might have been their most impressive win.
Let me get back to what I was saying. They're 8-1 in their last 9, with their 1 loss coming without the best quarterback in football. I don't even know how to debate anymore. Patrick Mahomes has done nothing. Josh Allen's trash. Lamar Jackson is the most inconsistent quarterback in the league.
Yeah, it's very debatable if Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback this year.
Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in football.
He has not played well this year.
Over the course of his career.
He has not played well this year.
Him not playing well, I don't know, man.
Look at their points. Look at their stats. Look at his. Oh my God! 24 against a football team, one of the worst defenses. 24 against the Packers. 25 in overtime against the Bengals.
In the league. I mean, nobody else is greater pre-snap.
17. So the Seahawks, they barely scored 17 against. They had 2 turnovers given to them. And you thought Aaron Rodgers looked like the best quarterback in the league against the Seahawks?
Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in the league. I don't care what.
I'm talking about this year. He's not playing like the best quarterback in the league. We just saw a prime example.
It's the guy that I will trust week in, week out. They would have beaten the Chiefs with Aaron Rodgers. Nobody's doubting me on that. They should be 9-1.
Give me Tannehill right now. Give me Tannehill,
Mr. Terrible interceptions against the Rams. Unbelievable. Give me Tannehill right now.
You want to
What
talk
did he do
terrible
against the Saints last
interceptions? Jamal Adams got his first interception. You know how bad of a throw it has to be for Jamal Adams to get his first interception?
Aaron Rodgers said to Russell Wilson, they probably talked about it. They're like, let's throw the same exact interceptions both ways for fun.
No.
Get out of here.
Aaron Rodgers' interception was actually worse. Let's just talk about that for a second. He was falling down, took a hit, chucked it up to a covered guy. Russell Wilson saw Kevin King with his back turned, has made this throw before, threw it with the guy's back turned. Kevin King, my internal clock went off. I think Russell's throwing at me. Turns around. That's a quote from Kevin King. Turns around and catches it. But, all right, I digress. You have the Packers number 1. I got the Titans number 1. I mean, I think we could say those are the two clear top teams in the conferences. I guess it just depends on who wins this upcoming week.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I think that's the power rankings for the week. I've got nothing more to talk about.
No, absolutely not. I think we're done. It was a good show.
We'll see you next
Sad
week. We'll be at the Cardinals-Seahawks games. Expect some posts. Look forward to the power rankings post coming out this week. One of our favorites. Got anything else to say? Close us off.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks all for joining in. Big Dog, Little Dog. We got the responsible bet on Thursday. Don't forget. It's going to be me, Yosh, Diono, dropping the picks. That's all. Tune in next week. Adios.